Good morning, everyone. I would invite you to stand as we sing and worship together this morning. Everyone, it is so good to be gathered together as God's people in worship. Welcome to San Marino Community Church. I'm going to read a short call to worship from a Scottish theologian named John Bailey. Let's enter into worship with these words. I pray, O God, for all those who are seeking you earnestly today, and for every group of men and women who are meeting together to praise and magnify your name. Whatever their way of worship, I ask you in your love to accept their sincere offering of prayer and praise. And all God's people said, Amen. Amen.
Wandering through the night,
to hide this weary soul, this bag of bones. I try with all my might, but I just can't win the fight. I'm slowly drifting, ran out of road. I met a man I didn't know. He told me that I was not alone. Picked me up and turned me around, placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because you healed my heart and changed my name. Forever free, I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. Leave my doubts are burning like ashes in the wind. So long to my old friends, burden and bitterness. You can keep moving, you're not welcome here. Now till I walk streets of gold, I'll sing of how you saved my soul. This wayward one has found a way back home. You picked me up and turned me around. You placed my feet on solid ground. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, because you healed my heart and changed my name. Forever free, I'm not the same. I thank the Master, I thank the Savior, I thank God. That's good news this morning. Well, come now, fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Songs of the loudest praise. Teach me some melodious sonnet, sung by flaming tongues above. Praise the mountain fixed upon it, mount of thy redeeming love. Here I raise my Ebenezer, here by thy great help I've come, and I hope by thy good pleasure safely to arrive at home. Jesus saw me when a stranger, he to rescue me from danger, interposed his precious blood. Oh, to grace, how great a debtor daily I'm constrained to be. Let thy goodness like a fetter bind my wandering heart to thee. Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. Here's my heart, oh, take and seal it for thy courts above. God, as we're gathered this morning to hear your word and to worship you, we pray that you would give us new eyes to see the ways that we are part of your story. And we ask that you would show us how you want our lives, holy name. And all God's people said.
Amen.
Good morning, friends. You can have a quick seat. Welcome to San Marino Community Church. My name is Jessica Von Lower. I am the pastor here, and on behalf of our pastoral staff and our program staff, we are so grateful to see each and every one of your faces. We believe here at SMCC that when we come to church, we do not think that that's an accident. We know that God is calling to us every moment of our lives, and we have an opportunity every Sunday to respond to that call together, to be the body of Christ in the same place at the same time, and it is such a gift. So I want to thank you for responding to God's call to be together today. It is just wonderful to be with you. We have these QR codes that are going to come up on the screens. If you are willing to take your handheld device and aim the camera function at that, it will take you to a form, and it gives you an opportunity to let us know that you are worshiping with us. And that's true whether you're in this room or if you're worshiping with us online, be it today on Sunday or any day during the week. We are just grateful that we have this chance to connect across time and geographical space, even if we can't be in the same place at the same time. We are worshiping as the same body at the same place and same time. That didn't really make sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. So please take a chance to, if you are new and visiting with us today, we extend a special welcome to you, and we hope that you will let us know that you are visiting so that we can give you a welcome gift, because we want you to know that anything that we have here, it's yours. There's no hoops you have to jump through. We hope that you know how much that you belong. Man, I'm stuttering today. Sorry about that. You know what it means? It means that it's time to take a moment and greet one another, to share the peace of Christ. If you are willing to stand, say hi to someone, introduce someone, tell someone that you're glad to see them today, you can do that. If you don't want to shake hands or, share germs, that's fine. But let's take a minute and greet one another in the love and peace of Jesus Christ. A very different vibe up here. Yeah. The lights make it a little hard, but yeah. Take a seat. No. Yeah, you should. Today we have a guest preacher. I would like for you to meet my friend, Sarah Simmons. This is Sarah. Sarah and her husband John have been friends. Now she is the founder of the Her Future Coalition, and she is sharing with us today some of her story to escape or to get out of human trafficking, and more importantly, to be able to start a life that is more fulfilling and life-giving. Sarah is here with us from Florida. She's come a long way, and she is so excited to be with us. So I'm going to lead us in worship today. I told you I'm off today. I'm so sorry. Sarah's here, but that's the best part. All right. All children, Mrs. Natalie is exiting, or if you just want to be a child for the day, you can also go. All right. That's it.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm absolutely psyched to be here today and have this opportunity to share with you, not just about my journey and the work we do, but what I have been learning and what God has been giving to me over the last 20 years that is enabling me to renew my strength and to keep going and to keep being more energized and excited to work with these girls. Let's start with the scripture, Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And Jeremiah 33:10. But in this place of which you say it is a waste, there will be heard again the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voices of those who sing. So over the last 20 years, I have been running an organization called Her Future Coalition, which is an international organization which combats human trafficking, child marriage, and other forms of sexual and gender-based violence. And we work with girls who have experienced these things, who are rescued survivors, and also with younger girls who are trying to do prevention programs so that never has to happen to them. So working with girls in red light areas and in border towns, or girls whose family has already human trafficking side it, perhaps a sister or a mother has already been trafficked. So as you can imagine, that kind of work can be very, very intense and very heavy. And I don't blame you if you're a little bit hesitant to come to church today to talk about this, because I myself, when I first found out about this issue, was afraid. I actually learned about it at a film festival where I had a song. I was a songwriter for film and TV, and I went to New York City for this film festival. And while I was there, had the opportunity to see another film, and the only film available in my time slot was a film about child sex trafficking between Nepal and India. And I was quite hesitant to go see it, and I actually thought I won't be able to do anything about that. Or that's very overwhelming and tragic. And I was afraid. I was afraid to learn about it, and I was afraid to witness it. But I'm so glad that I did, because bearing witness is the first step towards taking action against something. And particularly with this issue, really thrives in silence, in secrecy, in shame, in darkness. And the less we talk about it, the more it's going to happen. And the first step is to have the courageous willingness to look at it. So thank you for having that. I didn't at first, but thankfully God had a plan for me, which was to go to that film. And there is an expression in the Jewish tradition that when your heart breaks, then the words of God can fall in. And that is exactly what happened to me that day. I cried for 90 minutes straight, and I'm actually British, so I really don't cry. It's not my thing at all, I'm telling you. I haven't cried in like 6 years. But during that movie, really my heart broke, and I just cried and cried. I got dehydrated. But in that crying and in that heartbreaking, God spoke into me to say, this is your work. This is actually what you need to do now, and you need to turn your back on what you thought was your life, because this is what I need you to do. And I thought, yes, I will do it, because, having seen that and had been so moved, I knew that I wanted to help. In that movie, it certainly showed the horror of child sex trafficking, and it very honestly showed the injustice and betrayal that these girls experience. The girls that were profiled were young girls from Nepal, typically 11 and 12-year-old girls, who were trafficked into brothels in Calcutta and Mumbai, where they experienced horrifying and dehumanizing abuse. And some of them didn't even make it, but some did. And in this movie were featured some of those girls who had survived, who had been rescued. And then they had the courage to go back into those places where they were tortured and terrified in order to rescue others, and bringing the police and rescue agencies and building the trust that enabled rescues to happen for these next set of girls. And one of the girls, her name was Anita, and she was actually living with HIV and eventually died from it. But before she died, she was working at the border of Nepal and India. It's a huge 1,000-mile border. It's an open border, and that's maybe part of the problem. But she was stopping every car. And because of what she'd experienced, she had a unique ability to see what was going on and stopped so many trafficking situations from happening through her courage. So looking at her and looking at the others in this film, and also ordinary people who were doing something about it, I said, I'm an ordinary person. I can do something about it, and I'm going to. So I made the decision that very day to answer God's call and to devote the rest of my life to human trafficking, or to working against human trafficking. And so I reached out to organizations in the film, and I did something which is still my catchphrase, start by starting. If you don't know what to do, is you take one step. In India, there's a beautiful folks tale about a little boy who needs to go to the next village, and it's late at night, and there's tigers, and it's all very scary. And his grandfather gives him a lantern and says, just, walk, and you'll see the way. And he's like, but this lantern only shows 3 feet ahead. And he's like, take a step. Oh, okay, see one more foot, and then one more foot. And that is an absolute metaphor for the journey and experience that I've had. I didn't have all the skills going into this, but I tried to be humble, and I reached out to organizations who were working in these countries, in that time, India and Nepal, and who had a deep expertise in this, and they very kindly and generously showed me the ropes and invited me to come alongside them and be part of that work. So that's how we got started. So many mistakes were made. So many things did not work out, but many, many things did. And over the years, our programs grew, and currently we're able to serve 2,000 girls every year with long-term and intensive programs that really equip them to become slavery-proof. I believe that because the issues that are driving human trafficking are systemic, and it's rooted in poverty and in the low status of women, and it's rooted in caste issues and cultural issues and economic issues. There's just so many pieces to it. It doesn't happen randomly. It happens to people who are already extremely vulnerable or considered invisible or less valuable in the societies in which they live. So in India and Nepal, that's people of low caste, tribal people, LGBT kids, indigenous communities, and girls. And in the United States, it's not that different. Indigenous community is extremely hard hit with human trafficking here in America. Kids of color, kids coming out of foster care. It's people who are already vulnerable. And so we've learned over the years that we really have to work with girls long term, and we have to address the various different vulnerabilities in order for them to become slavery proof. Because if you just rescue someone and then you send them home, and this was what was happening when I first got involved, and then that person doesn't have any tools or resources, often they're blamed for what was done to them, and they have a tremendous amount of stigma and always a tremendous amount of trauma. Then the same thing is just going to happen again and again. What's the point of that? So we really focused our efforts on this long-term interventions, and for us, that's shelter. A lot of times when girls are rescued, they cannot return to their homes because their families may have been involved in trafficking them, or they may not know where their home is, or there may just be too much stigma, or there may be just so much poverty and lack of opportunity that the problem is likely to repeat itself. So in those cases, and those are many, then they need a really safe space in which to grow up. So that's a big part of our work, is building and supporting those shelters and those girls as they're growing up in safety. And the biggest program that we have, and I think one of the best solutions, is education. Educating girls. If you can get a girl through 10th grade, it's very likely that she won't be trafficked. And when girls grow up and they can read a contract and they can learn about their human rights, then they are slavery proof, and they're also able to become a safety net to be able to help others. So education, building schools and supporting girls' education those girls who are either survivors or at very high risk. It's another big part of our work. And the third part is economic independence. So for survivors that are rescued a little bit of a later age and might not want to go back, to early childhood education, we offer all kinds of job training from computers, bakery, beautician, healthcare. We try to have it be as wide and diverse as possible because these are girls who haven't had any choices in their life up to now, and want to be able to give them those choices and that they can be able to choose the beautiful future of their own making. Our work is really best expressed through the stories of our girls. And one of the girls that I'm the proudest of, I'm proud of all of them, but especially proud of Anjali. I met Anjali just 1 week after she was rescued at a shelter in Calcutta. She was 7 years old. She was living in a rural indigenous community of Nepal when her father died. And having a parent die, as well as being poor and indigenous, she had a lot of risk factors already in her life. And then her mom became very depressed and left her and her brother at the house alone, just kind of wandered off and didn't come back. She was obviously in a very vulnerable situation, and she and her brother would go from house to house, try to get food, dinner. And in that situation, she experienced sexual assault, by a member of her family or close neighbors, another risk factor. Her mother remarried and had a little baby, Shanti, and unfortunately Shanti was very, very sick in that first year of her life, and so the family's economic situation, already very poor, became desperate. And Anjali had grown up in a community where lots of girls and women went to work in India. She didn't know what that work was, but she knew that she had friends her age who'd gone to work in India, and people's mothers and lots of people's sisters and aunties. It was just a thing that was very, very common in that community. And so she made the decision that she would go, that she needed to take responsibility for her family and go and work in India. And so she told someone, and by that very night she was on her way to India and was trafficked into a red light area of Calcutta, where she suffered unimaginably for 18 months. I never go into the details of what happened because I think we can all imagine, the loneliness and the suffering and the physical pain of a child in that situation, the complete lack of choices, the fear, and eventually just giving up on hope altogether and living, moment to moment. And that was a state that I found her in at a shelter home where I was working in Calcutta right after she was rescued with a group of 16 other girls, all from that same region of Nepal. But even in that situation, with all the trauma that Anjali had and all that she had lost, she was a remarkable girl with a vision. And her vision was to go back. Her father had been the caretaker of the village school, and it closed after he died, and that was another reason that she got trafficked. So she had this vision to go back to that village and reopen the school so that the next generation of girls could live in peace and not have to experience what she experienced. And it seemed such a beautiful dream. And, at that point, far away, she was a 14-year-old kid in a shelter home, rescued a week ago. But she held on to that dream. And I've had the great pleasure of walking alongside her, sponsoring her education. She had to go back to kindergarten at age 15. She worked her way up, working so hard and relentlessly. Eventually, there was some reconciliation with her mother and family. But she held on to that dream. And in 2020, we wrote a book together that she shared about her story and about her dream, and we used it to raise money so that in 2021, she opened that school. And today, there are 150 girls in that school, including some who had been trafficked or who had left school for many years and were, like Anjali, were going back at an older age. We have a dormitory for those kids. And through that school, Anjali is having such an incredible impact in that community to really be able to change the mentality. Because what had happened was that all the years of this happening, this trafficking happening and becoming part of people's economy or people's wealth, it had become normalized, where it's expected. And when you walk through the village with Anjali, as I've done, she'll just point at every single house, the daughter, the sister, the mother, two sisters, my friend. Every house is affected either that they have sisters and daughters, mothers in the brothels of India, or that they're traffickers, and sometimes both. I was scared for her going back to that community because the people that trafficked her still live there. One of them is a high government official. He's had 7 cases brought against him by different survivors, and every single time he's gotten away with it and continues to be in a powerful position. Her family was threatened. She was threatened when she went back there. But God has been walking alongside her and alongside that project. And all the things I've ever been involved in, it is one of the most joyful. But there's a lot of joy involved in this. Honestly, I think people think, Sarah, you're such a great person doing that work. That must be terrible. Or how do you do that? I couldn't do that. And I get it. I understand that point of view because I also felt that way and was very hesitant to dig into learning about this issue and going to that film because of that feeling that we all have of powerlessness over something this big, and maybe feeling like, what's the point of entering into that anguish and horror if I'm not going to be able to do anything about it? I definitely felt that, prior to getting into this, and many times over the years, feeling a little bit of overwhelm, like it's such a big problem, I'm not doing enough, or it's not working the way I want. Sometimes someone doesn't make good choices, or they aren't able to take the healing forward. A lot of times it works, but not always, and that can be a real sense of loss. And also struggling with, feeling overwhelmed, or there's not enough resources and not enough money, enough time. I'm not enough. I'm not doing it good enough, or making mistakes, and, it's not enough. And so I've been really supported in those moments, and I continue to be uplifted in those times through my Christian faith. And I chose that verse, those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will run and not grow weary. And I would just want to share some of the things that over the years have helped me to keep energized and not grow weary. Because I hope that in this audience, I see lots of young people. I hope there's someone else who is going to feel like, I want to go all in on something, whether it's this issue or another issue that you care about. I hope there's several people who make that decision. I know for me, after seeing that movie, making the decision, I went all in. My husband and I sold our house. We used our life savings. You don't have to do that, but you can if you want. Seriously, though, I felt like God gave me back everything I gave up. And in terms of the purpose and the joy, being able to see the transformation in lives is the best imaginable life. I feel like I have an epic life, extraordinary joy of seeing lives transformed and people coming from the most difficult, almost unimaginably hard circumstances and trauma into doing these amazing things, like Anjali, or like Saba, who's a gynecologist. She's the first female gynecologist in her Muslim community. And because of her, women are going and getting OBGYN care. There are so many others, and some of them are doing simple things like working in a coffee shop or doing data entry. But they're living beautiful lives of their own choices. They have pots and pans in their cupboard, and their children will not have to experience what they experienced because of who they are and what they've been able to build up within themselves. So if you're thinking, this woman is crazy, but maybe I might want to do this, I want to share with you a few things that might help you along the way to keep your strength up. Now, the first one for me is something that was given to me the very first year that I started doing this, and I went over to Nepal for the very first time. And I met this incredible woman who was running a shelter home there. Her name was Anuradha Korala. And what she said was, first you take the girls into your own heart, and then the energy rises up from you to help them. And I always just try to remember that. Just first take the girls into your own heart, and then the energy will rise up. And not just the energy, but the skills and the tools that you need are going to come to you. Just like I was talking about with the lantern, if you're going to take steps and you're going to take these girls into your heart, God is going to provide for you everything that you need. All the resources, whether it's money or skills or other people to help you to fill in the gaps that you might not have. There's an expression in the Bible called gird your loins. It's kind of a weird expression, and what are loins? Is that I don't completely get it, but I looked it up. And it has to do with when you're going into battle and you're wearing a long tunic and you don't want your tunic, the flaps of your skirt or whatever to get caught up and get all tangled up while you're trying to be in battle. So girding your loins is you take the pieces that, are dangling and you tuck them into a girdle so that they're out of your way. It's such a great metaphor, for me about like, what are the things that might be getting in your way as you're trying to do justice work? Whether it's maybe unresolved trauma that you might need to look at and get support for, or maybe, feelings of not being able to ask for help, or arrogant attitudes like, I got to do this myself. For me, a lot of it was around people pleasing. Like, I have to make everyone happy whilst I try to combat human trafficking worldwide. And finally, I was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be a people pleaser. This was like 10 years ago. And then, you guys, I was so shocked when people were not pleased about my lack of people pleasing. You know what I mean? Like, not just about any specific thing, but like when I stopped being a people pleaser, people weren't pleased, and that bothered me because I'm a people pleaser. But anyway, for me, that was one of the things that was my, long tunic. That was getting in the way of me doing the work that I was called to do. And so I had to gird that. And, another thing was a feeling of a lack of enoughness, whether, a sense of scarcity, a scarcity mentality. And I felt like, the girls are in such a desperate state right when they're rescued or when they're in that situation. And I felt like so guilty about it, and I have so much. And so at first I kind of had the wrong-headed idea to try to like impoverish myself somehow or not take care of myself, to stay in like the crappiest hotel in Calcutta, to like eat like weird spicy potato chips and, just all kinds of stuff that was unnecessary, making things harder than they needed to be, to try to equalize. No, it's maybe it's kind of a natural impulse. We see people suffering and we want to go down to where they are and meet them where they are. And that can be good, but I feel like it's also unsustainable. And one of the girls that I work with actually shared with me, she's like, you don't need to do this. Like, we don't want you to come down here. We want to come up to where you are. We want to have the opportunities that you have, and we want to have the abundance, and we want you to have it too. And not just in terms of money, but like in joy and in wellness and in, taking care of yourself. Like, we want to be in a position that we can do that. So the more you do that for yourself, the more energy and, endurance you're going to have to be able to continue to offer those opportunities to others. So that was really a helpful learning for me, and I stopped staying at the very worst hotels and eating spicy potato chips for lunch. Another thing is putting it down. It's so healing, and I think we've all experienced this when when you're having distress, when you're in so much pain. It's so healing to share it with someone you trust. And not all the times the girls want to talk about their trafficking story, but sometimes they do. But sometimes they just want to share, what's going on for them right now. And what's going on for them right now can still be very painful. And so at first, I would take that and I would try to carry it for them, thinking that would be helpful. Like, let me take a little bit of your pain and then carry it. But of course, you can't. Like, it keeps piling on, and like, you're not actually making things better. So what I really have learned to do was to be a bridge, that I can bear witness, listen, hold it for a minute, carry it for a minute, hold space for it, and then give to God, because God has the abundant power to heal it and to carry it without it wearing God out, and I don't. And by the same token, instead of thinking like I have to come up with all the resources to help these 2,000 girls every year, I've started to see myself as a bridge of prosperity for the girls. So all the abundance and prosperity is coming from God, and hopefully it can come through me, and then I can get it to these wonderful, deserving girls. And sometimes it flows, gushes, and sometimes it trickles. And I've really learned to be at peace about that and to remember that whatever is given, I am going to do an awesome job with what I have. And there is always enough to do an awesome job with what you have. Always. And that always enoughness has been such a huge gift to me in energizing me and being able to continue doing this work. Sometimes you have $5. As soon as you have $50,000. And worrying about it is wearying. It gets you weary and takes your energy. Instead, just be like, hey, $5 today. We're going to do a great job with $5. And if we have $50,000 next week, we're going to do a great job with $50,000. And whether it's 5 or 50, we're going to do our best to try to make it 50, but that abundance is flowing from God. And so just seeing my place in all of this appropriately as neither the source of the resources and the healing, or the carrier of the pain, but kind of an intermediate stage of that can bridge it in both directions. Another thing I learned from this wonderful guy in LA, Father Gregory Boyle. I don't know if any of you read his work. Yes, he's the best. And reading his book was a great gift to me in my work and in my spiritual journey. Because, he works with kids in gangs, and he's buried 250 kids he loved. I haven't had to do anything like that. But certainly I've seen many cases where everyone did their very best, and it just doesn't always work out. And, feeling heartbroken and like a big failure and despairing about that. But he wrote in his book, and I find it so helpful, that you're not responsible to fix things, to fix people, to heal people. That's God's work. To fix people's lives, not always possible. Usually not ever possible. You can give resources. You can create opportunities. And many people will take them and build this beautiful future. And some people aren't ready, and they won't. And what you're responsible to do is just to create a culture of kinship and love in which healing can happen. And allow God to do the amazing healing work inside that person. And that person who is endlessly resourceful and creative and whole to be able to do that work for themselves. And again, my job is as a mother to create that love and that space for them rather than to fix what's happening in their life. And most importantly, just remembering that in every situation, even in the hardest place, like a red light area where there are children, God is there. Where is God in that situation? God is in those children, in their DNA. He's in the people that are trying to help. He is in the people who might be called to help. And all of the healing energy that's going to change things in this world is at work through God. And that gives me, a sense of relief and a peace. Recently we had some girls, this is actually at Anjali's school. One of them was named Maya, and it kind of got my heart because that's my daughter's name, Maya. And Maya is 12, and she had been trafficked to go work in a hotel when she was very little, like 8 or 9. And you can imagine, what happened to her there. She came running back home, being raped and being abused. And then parents sent her to work somewhere else. Again, abuse happened. She got rescued and put into a school, and her parents pulled her out of that and put her to work again. She was in a very, very deep state of trauma to the point where it was very hard to find she needed a specific kind of, social work environment in which to heal. And I was having a really hard time finding a placement. But we did find one, and the people who run that shelter home are really wonderful Christian people, and they have a lot of wisdom. They've been doing this work for a long time as well. And they said, we were praying for the success of this, and the guy said, even when they're sleeping, God heal them. And even when they're just walking to school, like all the times, we don't have to be doing something every minute and doing counseling every second. Like even while they're having breakfast, be healing them. And even while they're sleeping, God is working and healing in every single person. A lot of the places that I work, like I say, might seem like a wasteland, like a hopeless place. But I've learned through doing this work that with energy and effort and with God's incredible healing power, that place that you thought was hopeless can be turned into a field of gorgeous flowers. In this place of which you say, it is a waste, there will be heard again the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voices of those who sing. Thank you.
incredible. Let's have one more round of applause. That was really amazing. As you may know, this summer we have been journeying through the Psalms together. And as we were preparing for this series, one of my hopes was that as a community, we would really find an increased ability to honestly express ourselves before God, to bring our real and raw emotions and see them through the lens of what is true about God. And that's why we've been encouraging you to write your own Psalms, and many of you have done that. It's not too late. If you've written one and haven't submitted it, we would love to see it because it shows us more about who God is, and we can add it to our wall of Psalms in the courtyard. But right now I'm going to share a new Psalm of wisdom that I wrote. So hear these words. Blessed is the one who lives an examined life, who comes before God with an honest heart and seeks to do right by all. The wicked grow rich at others' expense. They amass wealth, trampling over the vulnerable. They mine God's precious earth till it becomes a wasteland. Like a dragon guarding its cursed pile of gold, they spend their life anxiously protecting their ill-gotten gains, isolated and afraid. The righteous say with peace in their hearts, God is my safety, my satisfaction, and my joy. Blessed is the one who trusts in God. They know the truth. When it comes to money and power, it's easy come, easy go. God is the only security that lasts. When you take refuge in God's love, it's easy to live with open hands and an open heart. God gives a spirit of freedom to those who put their trust in him. They will find hope that can't be extinguished. Amen.
Friends, we have been blessed with abundance, security, all the things we need to thrive. As the ushers come forward, I want us to generously consider how we can use our time, our talents, our treasure, so that all God's children can experience the love and joy, peace, and hope of Jesus Christ.
Please stand as we sing our final song together. From the love of my own comfort, from the fear of having nothing, from a life of worldly passions, deliver me, oh God, deliver me, oh God, from the need to be undone. from the fear of serving others, from the fear of death or trial, from the fear of humility. Deliver me, oh God. Deliver me, oh God. And I shall not want, no, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want, no, I shall not want, no, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. I shall not want. I shall not want.
Beautiful song, Willow. Thank you very much. If you've been here attending worship here in our church, you probably have felt this, have known this. Each and every single Sunday you've been here, of the invitation of God to be repairers, reconcilers, and rejuvenators of the world. And that's what we heard today. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much for doing that. And we don't take that lightly. In your fridge flyer are the many ways you can be a repairer, you can partner with God in that restoration project that He's always wanted to do. Number one is, next week is lay visitations. If you find it in your heart to visit those who are in need in their homes, know more about their stories, come next week in the lounge at 11:30, right after the service. There will be lay visitation training. Another one is on August 15, small group leader training, headed by our very own Reverend Beth Putney. You don't have to be a leader, actually. If you're a leader, come. If you're just interested in, again, knowing more of the stories of others in the context of a Bible study, come. That will be in the lounge on August 25. Next week, August 18, in the afternoon, will be the centennial celebration of our partners, our mission partners, the Monte Vista Grove Homes. And we were told that 100 years ago is the Gershwin hits were born. I remember with one of the Gershwin hits, Rhapsody in Blue. Right? Hear more of those. Hey, there you go. Hear more of those next week at 3 p.m. at 4 p.m. And played by our very own Reverend Marilyn Manning in the other side of the courtyard, our sanctuary, 3 to 5 p.m. Centennial celebration. And finally, another one of those ways that we're invited to partner with God is what's happening today, right after this service, the book launch of our dear friend Andy Lower. He's launching his book. I gave away all my clothes. And Sarah happens to be the editor of that book. So meet both of them right after this.
It's going to be great.
You'll find out. I mean, I'm finding out that the tags in your shirt, in the clothes that you wear, means a lot. There's so many stories about it, and you'll find out more when you meet Andy and Sarah as they launch their book. Thank you.
The benediction. Okay. All right. May one person or two people in this room be called to do something crazy on behalf of the most broken parts of our world. And may everyone, in all the work that you're doing, may your energy for justice and healing the world be endlessly renewed. May you soar on wings like eagles. May you run and not grow weary. May you walk and not faint.
All right, we're going to send you out with a Jason Mraz song that I think this song speaks a lot about what Sarah shared today and what Andy's going to be sharing and seeing the dignity of all people. So this is Live High. Try to picture a girl through a looking glass. See her as a carbon atom. See her eyes and stare back at them. See that girl as her own new world. Though her home is on the surface, she is still a universe. Oh, glory God, oh God is speaking through the vines. Are we all here standing naked, taking guesses at the actual date and time? Oh my, with justifying reasons why is an absolutely insane resolution to live by. Live high, live mighty, live righteously, taking it easy, live high, live mighty, live righteously, taking it easy. Try to picture a man to always have an open hand. See him as a giving tree. See him as matter of fact, he's not a beast. No, not the devil either. Always a good detour. And it's laughter that we're making after all. All of the while is still an order nationwide. In the order of the primates, all our politics are too late. Oh my, the congregation in my mind is an assembly singing gratitude, practicing their loving for you. Live high, live mighty, live righteously, taking it easy. Live high, live mighty, live righteously. Just take it easy and celebrate the malleable